You don't need money to be free, but it does help a lot. Okay. So listen up. Freedom is inherent to who you are as a human being, freedom of choice, free will. And we often think that money is the ticket to getting us to that ultimate place where we will be free. But when you realize first that you are already free, that you can make choices, you can decide which direction your life is going in, you realize that money simply becomes a tool to get you to where you want to be in terms of your goals, in terms of the life that you're creating. And money moves have been on my mind a lot this week. I have been reflecting on certain investments I've made in the past. We are looking to buy a house this week. Well, today, in process. But I wanted to kind of walk through a lot of the aha moments that I've had this week in terms of money as a tool to get you the things in life that you want. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Melissa Hussong. I'm a coach, podcaster, and general women's empowerer. I share my story on this podcast. I interview badass women business owners, and I share tips to help other women find freedom in their lives. And that's why today we're talking about money, because it is so scary to so many people. Generally, we all have massive money blocks, but I want to talk about it today in an approachable way, share some stories that are really helping the way that I look back at the previous versions of me, the younger versions of me, to see like, oh, I did this well, I could have done this better. And this current state that I'm in, there are some things I want to clean up to reach additional goals. Okay, so this week I was looking into a couple of investments that I have. And I realized that when I was younger, I made some good choices. The first choice was to decide to invest. Nobody, and I mean nobody, knocked on my door and said, Mel, have you thought about investing some of your discretionary earnings, some of the extra money that you have? So that's the money that, we would otherwise spend on a new outfit for the weekend. You would go out and drink and get lit up, that kind of money. Essentially, it's the excess money after paying bills. Okay, whatever that amount is for you is what you have left over at the end of the week, at the end of the month. So I made some investment decisions early on, and I checked. Why was I checking this? Why was I checking this? Um, I think I was just doing a money check in, and I was like, oh, just kind of digging into some things, and I realized I had some money sitting in a money market account, and I was like, where does this money come from? That's a very random amount. It wasn't an odd number. And I dug in, I was clicking buttons, like trying to get to the bottom of this money that, why did I have sitting in this random account? Okay, so this money was dividend money that had been like getting deposited every quarter from some stocks that I have. WTF, I didn't know about this. I didn't know I don't think I realized at the time that when I bought those shares that they were dividend shares, and shares and stocks are the same thing, so I might be using them interchangeably, those two phrases. So I was essentially getting paid out for the privilege of owning these shares that I bought maybe 3 or 4 years ago and deposited into this separate account. And I didn't even know about it because every time I check that account, I just kind of look high level. I don't really click around. I'm just making sure the money's still there and I haven't been scammed, to be honest. And so a couple things about this was like, fuck, oh my gosh, I actually invested money and it's paying off. Okay. So first thing, go me for doing that decision for young Mel. Second thing is, okay, so I'm making this income. What am I going to do with this income? And I did not have it set to reinvest that money. I need to change that because the money was just chilling in that account. So don't be having money chilling in accounts like that. So I'm going to be reinvesting those earnings. But all of that to say, so many times in my growing up, also in my young adulthood, up until now, like we are so fucked up about money. And I remember specifically like after grad school, some friends and I had gone to Teddy Roosevelt National Park, and we were just having like a girls' weekend camping with all the buffalo, and it was so fun. We nearly got literally nearly got run over by a buffalo. I'm not even kidding. It came within probably like 3 meters of our tent, and we were in the tent, people. We were in the tent. It was the morning, and we woke up and we unzipped, and my friend was like, there's a fucking buffalo outside. And we were like, what do we do? Stay in here? No, we're going to get trampled. We need to go to the car. So we quickly ran into the car. And in the car, we were still so scared. The buffalo was still there looking at us. And if you know buffalo, also known as bison, the whole thing is not to look them in the eye. So we were just kind of repeating this, like, to calm our nervous systems. I don't know. We were just like, don't look it in the eye. Don't. We were like shouting to each other in the car. Don't look it in the eye. Don't look it in the eye. But we were already in the vehicle, so nothing happened. The buffalo did eventually walk away with its friend. I can't. It wasn't in a group. It was definitely like there was one that was close to us, but there were others sort of in the vicinity. Maybe it went and rejoined and just carried on. You know, these animals are quite tame-ish. Like they're used to having humans around them, but also don't fuck with them because they will fuck with you. So that was our thing. We were just like, let's get away. Okay, so we survived the bison encounter, and we had left the park. It was an amazing, amazing weekend. We were getting lunch on the outside of the park. There's like a cool town there. And we were upstairs in this like old Western style restaurant. And we started talking about negotiation. And I just remember that was like my biggest first conversation with other women about making money, earning money, but also being unapologetic about wanting money and fighting for what you're worth. So this conversation, there were three of us. We were kind of like, all right, so when we get jobs, where some of us were interviewing, how do you approach this conversation of making money? How do you like, what is specifically the words that you say to say enter a negotiation? So you're not taking their lowball offer, you're not taking whatever they give you and say, hey, Mel, like, be grateful. You have a job. You say, no, thank you. I want more. And this is how we do it. And that conversation has helped me, has paid so many dividends as far as like, it comes up in my brain all the time, thinking about how empowering that conversation was to share our thoughts about it, to share how scared we were about it. But also, I was fucking probably 25 by the time I had that conversation of how to negotiate. And I wish I'd had that earlier. Like, I wish I'd known earlier about wanting more money, about how it's okay to be unapologetic about having money, and those sorts of things. And I share that story to really kind of paint the picture of like, women don't talk about this enough. I was talking again with a friend just this week about getting paid, and I'm like, so do you check your pay? Do you check your paycheck? And she's like, oh no, I don't. Like blah blah blah. I was like, well, it might be a good idea to just stay on top of that because I cannot count on my hands the amount of times that I haven't been paid correctly by multiple employers in a row. Like they like you getting paid is not their priority. You working is their priority. So let's think about that. And then I thought in my head, I was like, number one rule of working is make sure you get paid. Make sure you get paid correctly. Okay. And let's just talk about that more. Let's focus about it more. And I really am telling all the women in my life. So if you listen into this and you know me IRL, I'm coming for you and I'm going to be like, are you investing? What are you doing with your money? what are we doing here, people? What are we, like, women? Let's talk about this. Bring it out of the dark into the light. Yes, there's shame around it. Yes, I have been so embarrassed about money in the past. Um, I've taken jobs because I've needed them. I've taken jobs I've not negotiated. But I'm really glad that probably 5 years ago, I took it on myself to be like, okay, I'm going to research about investing. I'm going to find out what Warren Buffett is about. I'm going to go back. I read his mentor's book. Benjamin Graham is his name. Took me a second to think about it. So I read his book. I got that philosophy. I took it on myself. But again, no one's like, hey, if you want to grow wealth, if you want to have long-term financial stability, this is what you need to do about it. I'm so passionate about this. And the thing about money is we freak out about it. Like, even just saying the word, I think, is triggering for so many women, because immediately you're like, money equals shame, equals guilt, equals I don't want to talk about it. And we just kind of shut down mode. Maybe we've been taught to be like, any money you make, you should be grateful. You should be grateful for this job. You should be grateful to be here. All these things. But like, money stories happen so young in our lives. There are ways that we think about people who have money. You think, oh, wealthy people are bad, wealthy people are evil, being poor equals good, being poor equals virtuous. And then also, sometimes if you have more money than those around you, you go like, oh, maybe I don't want to elevate above the people I know. I don't want them to think that I'm here for the money, that I'm greedy, because greedy is not something that people want to aspire to. We have all of these money stories that happen when we're children, okay? Before we're like consciously thinking about what people are telling us and making a decision on whether is that right for me or not, you go, oh, okay, greed equals bad, money equals bad. You just kind of are absorbing all of this. And then that creates these behaviors that then as an adult, you start to look around and be like, oh, wait, I do want more than this. Oh, wait, I do want to secure my life for myself or potentially my family, if you have one, if that's part of your plan. But knowing if that's your story, so like another thing that what really resonated with me was money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. Like, if you ever heard those in your life growing up, maybe it'll be that's probably forming a lot of your behaviors now, unless you've really analyzed those thoughts and able to sort of transcend that. But just because that's how you grew up doesn't mean you have to stay that way. I also heard someone recently say, oh, no, I can't do that. I'm broke. I don't have money. And I do really feel the language that we use is so important. And maybe that doesn't feel good when you say it. I'm broke. Like, whether or not that's your reality doesn't mean you have to say it out loud, because it's going to make you feel bad and it's going to reinforce those feelings of brokenness. That's going to then reinforce the behaviors that might be leading to that. So let's ditch the fucking language. Let's talk about this stuff. Let's talk about this stuff confidently with your friends. Be like, yo, how you feel about how you're getting paid? Like, do you feel like there's room for improvement? If you're in the same workplace, like, is that a conversation you want to have? Is it worth looking at comparable companies to see, are there opportunities to make more income elsewhere? All of these things start with a conversation, and it's so empowering to just say how you feel about money. It really, when my previous episode, I talked about a depressive couple of months that I had, and talking about the thing that I was so shamed about really brought it out of the dark to be like, yeah, this happened to me, but It doesn't have to be how I'm going to be forever. It's just, it happened to me and that was a current state. And I talked to friends about it and it made me feel so much better. It actually empowered me to make the changes because it made me feel less alone, so much less alone. The other thing about investing, and also we're buying a house this week. We're buying a house. That's what I'm saying. It's in process, but we are buying a fucking house this week. Okay, if you've ever bought a house, if you know people who've bought houses, like the earlier you do it, the longer you hold that asset, the better the returns are going to be. Short term, yes, up, downs, roller coasters, but long term, things will increase. On average, they go up, okay? We're talking about long term timelines. And this is what has happened with my investments. I invested 5 years ago. I also had 401ks earlier than that, but this was just like a one off. I bought some stocks and I was like, I'm just gonna fuck around and find out, see what happens. Short term, I lost money because I was checking the ticker every day, being like, fuck, oh my god, fuck, I lost $30. Oh fuck, I lost $50. But I didn't do that anymore because I forgot. Okay? So I stopped checking. And then long term, it's been like maybe 4 years, I would say, and they've tripled. And then, oh, JK, there's also dividends sitting in an account that I didn't know about. Okay, so the point that I'm making is the longer that you have these things, the earlier that you start, the better, because then that amount will be able to compound from the day that you begin all the way until current day or future when you're, planning to sell a house or sell an investment. You're going to make more from it because you were in the market longer. So think about the boomers, okay? Think about the boomers. The boomers they grew up in like quite favorable long-term financial situations. So you buy a house in the 70s. The interest rates were quite high, but the prices are quite low. So you buy a house, you pay it off within, I don't know, 10 years, say, and then, well, 20 years, and then you own your own fucking house for like 50 years. So they had a really good opportunity, but there's still opportunity even now. You can still have that situation. Okay. I guess with that story, I'm just saying like the boomers had it good. That doesn't mean that we're missing out. We just need to get in the market. So the longer you do this, the better returns you get. This is also called compounding. Very cool. What is Einstein called compounding? The sixth wonder of the world? Seventh wonder of the world. Someone had a quote like that. And, this week, I'm also thinking about the compounding effect of friendships. Oh my gosh, you guys, you girls, you babes. Fuck. The compounding effect of friendships. This is what I have found recently. Friendships get richer with time. And that's not a genius statement, but I have found that to be true. They get richer, they get deeper, they get so much more nourishing. You might start a friendship in high school and you're talking about like the cute boy or what that girl did to you or what outfit you can wear on the weekend, like where are we going to drink on Saturday night, where are we going to get brekkie and brunch, like where are we going to get brunch on Sunday because we're hella hungover. You start with those conversations, but as you grow, similar to investing, as you grow, like the relationships get deeper, you talk about bigger shit, you get closer, your lives become more enmeshed. And maybe you have kids, you talk about negotiating your first job, you talk about job transitions, you talk about money moves, buying houses, you talk about relationships. Oh, well, that's just an ongoing thing that you always talk about. But as your maybe other relationship, your personal relationship develops, like that's something you bring to your friendships to talk about. The other thing that I have had a light bulb moment on is these friendships, when you sustain them for a long enough time, they know your patterns, okay? They know your bullshit, they call your bullshit, and they know when you're not doing well. They also are able to hold up, like, it's such a blessing for your friendships to be able to hold up a mirror to you and say, "Hey Mel, you've gone through this. You did this last year. Like, this is a pattern that you keep repeating. Let's talk about it." Or they will highlight your blind spots in a way that you've never seen, you've never heard. I had again, when I was having that depressive episode a couple months back for a couple of months, my SOS meeting to my lifelong bestie, she was like, "Mel, like, you've kind of always gone through this. Like, this is a side of you." And I was like, "What? Wait, no, no one knows that." I was like, "That's my deepest, darkest secret. What are you talking about? You know that." Like, I thought I was doing so well to shield that from the world. Obviously, not well enough. And thank goodness. And that was like, I was like, boom, she's got me. She sees right through me. She can help me in a way I can't even help myself. Female friendships, fuck, they're so life-giving, they're so powerful, and they really do get so much better with time. I also do think, like, if you meet new friends, it's not necessarily the friends you make at a young age. You can make them at every stage of your life if you have like an intensity, something that you share, and a vulnerability that you kind of are going through together. So maybe that's like a work bestie and you're just like having a traumatic situation with your boss, maybe, or like a traumatic work experience, and you're like, fucking, oh, crazy, that was wild. And then you just become really tight from that. I've also had, uh, I've also gotten to know women through having children, and that has been like a really crazy, intense experience. And you're like, whoa, I feel like bonded to you for life because of this thing that we went through. Um, and a lot of those women, like, I went to in that depressive time to be like, yo, this happened to me. Or like, I felt comfortable to tell them about it and they helped me through it. So that's been crazy. Like, definitely the theme of the week, making money moves, reflecting on money moves, and just the effect of things getting better over time and friendships getting better over time. You get smarter with time. Holy shit. I didn't know that when I was a kid. You're like, I'm so smart. This is me forever. I'm like the best. You have such an ego. You're just ego tripping. And you're like, no, I'm so good. And then you get older and you realize how much that wasn't true. And also you get older and go, oh, how much I still don't know everything and how much I still want to learn and how much I still want to grow, and realize like you're still fucking up, but you're going to fuck up less as you get older. Tell me in the comments if that's true. You fuck up less as you get older. And you get smarter, you give less fucks. And I'm all putting that down to just the compounding effect of life. The compounding effect of life. The older you get, the better you get. That's my week, really, ladies. I hope something within that chat gave you a little piece of freedom. I've been finding freedom in my life through that investing. I've been finding freedom in looking at, buying a house, seeing how that's going to work. And those female friendships are giving me fucking freedom for life. Freedom for life. That's what we're all about. Okay, drop in the comments what's giving you freedom this week. If you have an investing story, tell me. I want to hear about it. If you have a money story, tell me. I want to hear about it. Okay, that's all I got. I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.